So we're going to go ahead and go with the city transportation plan. Jeff Judson couldn't make it, but Michael Dennis has been working closely with Jeff on rail and the transportation plan. Mike?
Mr. Martin, how much time would you like to give a speaker?
He won't take long.
I won't take long. Certainly not as long as it took the city to explain what their plan for our future is. The city dropped 1,000 pages of a plan for the future. They call it included in it is a multimodal transportation plan. Whenever you hear the word multimodal, run for your life. Because the theory is that we just don't have enough options to transport ourselves around this area. So we need to have rail, this new invention that we just discovered in the 21st century. Of course not. It's 19th century technology. And what's the fascination? The feds have decided to put a line item in the federal budget for people around the country that want to use rail as a means of transporting their citizenry. So with this big pot of money, guess what that attracts? Besides flies, it attracts all these civic leaders who have these brainy ideas about how to whip us around on rail. Of course, we all know that it only works if you can line everybody up along a certain corridor, because once you put those rails down, they're not going to move. It's not like a bus route that can be rerouted according to the needs of the populace. What we got starting in June and finishing off, I believe it was in September, the city adopted their plan for the future, the Vision 2040. The theory is that we have 1 million people that are going to show up on our doorstep in the next few years. We have to start planning now for what we're going to do with them, because they can't fend for themselves and make these rational decisions. We have to be told by our betters where it is that we should live, work, and play, and therefore how to get around. One encouraging thought: for years we've heard that we have to develop a downtown. If we don't have a downtown, we're lost. So this downtown-centric development that we've been told we have to have has now been modified. We are now told that there are 13 activity centers all around the city. Downtown is one of them, but there are places like Medical Center that attract a lot of people. So what is the new plan? Now we're going to have corridors linking these 13 plans, and that's how we're going to get around. So we'll have to wait and find out exactly what our brainiac city planners come up with. But we've heard from VIA, they've supplemented the 1,000 pages of the city's plans with a 40-some page plan of their own. Funny thing though, they don't mention that there's something called a public vote on streetcars or light rail. It's just absent from those 40-some pages. So we're left to guess exactly how they're going to implement this, but they have 14 references to light rail in their 40-some pages. They mention that they think one advantage of rail is that it lowers the casualty rates. We've got too many car accidents and people being killed by them. Of course, they use a statistic that's a little suspect. So if you analyze it correctly, you'll find that when urban transportation modes are considered and the death rates associated with that traffic, individual cars are actually safer than any kind of rail device. And if you think about it, it's not too hard to realize why. Those rail vehicles weigh tons, several tons. So that's one problem. When you get that amount of mass moving, it takes a while to slow down. The other feature is that they run on rails, not on pavement. So what's the advantage of rail? Well, it doesn't have a lot of rolling resistance. The bad part about rail is it doesn't have a lot of rolling resistance. So when you want to stop a light rail car, it takes several feet, several car lengths more than a car to stop, because the car's got rubber tires on asphalt or concrete that can grip and actually pull you to a stop before you hit that car or that pedestrian or who it is in front of you. Another interesting thing about the statistic the VIA wants to use, they only talk about deaths of passengers of rail vehicles. They don't mention that it's those pedestrians and other cars and other people in the world that are going to get smushed when the light rail car doesn't come to a stop. So the bottom line is we haven't won the fight completely, but we do have the knowledge that before any city payments for light rail or approvals for light rail take place, we, the voters, have to approve it. And we just have to stay tuned. Questions? Yes?
Do you think it's a lack of institutional memory, or do you think it's purposeful, or just that they're so dismissive of the public vote?
It's several of those things. There is this theory that VIA has. You're talking about the lack of reference in the VIA plan to the vote?
I think I got an email from y'all saying that when you went to the meeting, it was like the people you met with weren't even aware, or acted like they were not aware that they had to be a vote. I mean, are they just ignorant, or, I mean, they...
Well, let me comment on the piece of it that I think I understand.
Okay.
All right, VIA has a plan for their future development, and it doesn't mention the vote, but that's strategic, and it's probably also explainable by the fact that they come up with this notion that somehow they don't have to get permission to tear up our streets. So somewhere, some legal has told them they've got a way out of all of this, so they're just not bothering to consider that we might have a vote on the matter. That's my guess.
It's in the charter now.
It's in the charter. Yes?
And first of all, I have a YouTube up. It's called Streetcar Demolition Derby. If anybody wants to go to YouTube and type in Streetcar Demolition Derby, these streetcars are super dangerous, and this one in Houston is just destroying cars one after the next. But my question is, are they going to put it in a big city bond package? Is that how they're going to get this passed? Is that their plans?
I think they think the feds are going to rescue them. So Lamar Smith and Jeff Jensen and I have had some huddles together to try to head them off at the pass, and I think we'll still keep an eye on that ball.
The city of Portland and city of Dallas both have
Great examples.
light rail systems that are subsidized by the public because the people riding it don't even come close to paying for the system. The kiosks up in Dallas,
In fact, they for years in Portland you could ride the streetcars for free.
yeah, if they run. In Dallas, you ride for free. Why? Because the kiosks don't work. And they've got thousands of dollars being spent on keeping those kiosks up. They don't have, the contractors that keep up the kiosks are not sufficient to keep the kiosks running. It takes longer to figure out how to make the kiosk work But it does take the car and drive.
Did everybody hear that? All right. Yeah, and of course Dallas and Portland are always trotted out as examples of nirvana that we should want to emulate. But every time I hear a local official say, we're the only major city in the country that doesn't have light rail, we're the smart ones.
You mentioned the relative safety between cars and mass transit. Can you give me some websites that have stats on those safety figures?
Give me your email. I'll send you the comment that I submitted to VIA when they asked for public comment on the issue. Because they have a line in those 40-some pages saying this is the safest. Couched very carefully though, so they're only talking about the people inside the light rail, the relative safety that they can ride in, not about the rest of the world. Yes, Jack?
Mr. Dennis, I don't know what the language was in the charter, but I've been told that it's been suggested that one way VIA might be getting around the public vote is that if they dig up the very center area of the street, the median, that's not considered the street, and technically it may not be, now it's still a right of way, it's my understanding, but they were suggested that VIA might get around the fact that if it digs up just a certain area of the street, they may not have to have a public vote. How true is that?
That is really inventive. But it doesn't pass the smell test, does it?
Just want to make a comment based upon the situation with light rail. Many of you don't know me here in this room, but I've done a lot of public performance reviews with Jeff Judson, the Texas Public Policy Foundation, also with the Heritage Foundation. I'm Johnny Lovejoy. I'm Dr. Johnny Lovejoy. I'm a psychiatrist. I also have a PhD in business management with a minor in economics. In essence, what you're looking at, as far as this whole light rail fiasco, the last event that happened here in San Antonio, I live here in San Antonio. The last event that we had here in San Antonio, if you looked at it, it cost us $66,000 per plastic seat. What? Did you hear what I just said? If you ran the numbers, $66,000 per plastic seat to tear up a center lane, remove a lane, I believe it was down Fredericksburg at that time, to remove a lane of traffic, and that we, the taxpayers, were asked to get it subsidized. And again, the rate of pedestrian traffic deaths and other incidents that occur with light rail are just astronomical. Light rail does not work in San Antonio and Bexar County because Bexar County is not conducive to light rail. We have no main centers of destination as you do in a New York City, as you do in a Chicago, as you do in a Washington, D.C. You don't have those centers of destination here. Our system is built based upon the old wagon system. We're built like our road system is built like the old wagon wheel. If you look at our highway, the wagon wheel is the hubs. No spurs that take you across those wagon wheels. So just keep that in mind when we think about these things. Now, please keep it on the simple. It doesn't make any sense.
Yes, Betty.
I just have a comment too on that book you're talking about, planning department did. You can go online. We, a group of neighborhoods have got together and we reproduced the book. It cost me about $50 to reproduce it. And in that book, it has the light rail drawn in, so I addressed that with City Council, our City Council member, who is the chairman, and he said, no, Betty, no. I said, then why did we manufacture a book and put the light rail in the book, and I had to take a magnifying glass to see where you put it, where you're getting ready to put light rail. So we've got a 1,000-page book out there. The city's already got the plan out there. It's our next plan that we're going to do. They worked on it now, whatever, whoever worked on it. So people can pull that planning book up, or you can go to your councilman and ask him to. Remember, it's going to get, oh, they already give it to us. I spent 1.5 million nights reading that book and Boy, I tell you, the inner city.
I'm sorry to hear you have the insomnia condition.
Pardon?
It must have helped your insomnia.
Yeah, yes, I have lots on my plate, for sure, for sure. I'll tell you, when you read it, you'll have insomnia.
Just one other note. There is a mention in those 1,000 pages of something called autonomous vehicles, self-driving cars. But there's no connecting the dots. It's pretty accurate the way it's described, because they must have assigned it to some intern or something to write that portion. So be consoled that over time, we're not quite sure whether it's going to be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, that the technology will have leapfrogged any discussion of this 19th century light rail, because cars will be able to communicate with each other and with their environment, and hopefully it will cut down on the 30,000 or so traffic fatalities that we have in this country every year. That's the hope anyway. And just watch that space.
Do you know, does anybody know who the contractor is that would be hired to build the light rail system? Do you know who stock is?
Probably Zachary will have a hand in it.
Siemens of Germany, General Electric, they build these super fast trains.
Yeah.
So that General Electric, Siemens, Germany.
Well, Portland was able to finagle a relationship with an Oregon-based company, something Ironworks, to get some copies of a Czech design built in this country. And I think there's some effort to do a Made in America pitch.
If I'm not mistaken, almost 100% of every streetcar actually originates either in the Netherlands or in Denmark, European, and they build a factory, usually up north. The unions bring it in so they can claim American made, and then a subcontractor or a sub-element, a sub-company of that company ends up being in Portland, blah, blah, blah. That's in almost 100% of the cases, that's where they originate. And they're very good cars, but.
Yeah, but it's a shell game, yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Just as a point of interest, Jeff Judson, this was in 2000, leading the Texas Public Policy Foundation, and myself leading HDA, fought back against the rail plan in 2000. It went down almost 3-1. No. And what was funny is that I held several press conferences at Park and Ride at Wonderland Mall, and the buses would be coming in and the TV people would be there with their cameras, and the buses, guess what? We're empty. And so anyway, I'd yell at the cameraman, get a shot of those buses, get a shot of those buses, they're all empty. And there's no cars in this Park and Ride lot. Well, they did. Vito was very offended, but they did solve the problem. Now you can't see into a Via bus, can you? Problem solved. But that's the way we're dealing with an out-of-control government at all levels. There's no question about that.